Hi everybody, this is Jason from the Millie Paramilitary 2 Para 3 Club, and I wanted to talk to you today about a cool little knife that I have on loan from a friend of mine. This is the Benchmade Super Freek. I've been calling it the Rick James. Lately in my little club we've been nicknaming knives left and right, and given that this is the Super Freek, why not call it the Rick James? This is a new knife from Benchmade, and it's the model number 560-1. This is a 3.6 inch folder with the axis lock. We have M4 steel with a DLC coating. We also have G10 scales with a very cool pattern and a very cool milling pattern on them, giving you lots of grip. This is a great knife. Ambidextrous, of course, like most Benchmades are, with a very cool two-tone look to the scales. Not only do we get the swirl pattern in the G10, but we also have a liner of a scarlet red with red standoffs. So really a very, very cool knife. Street price on this knife is about $191, and that'll get relevant in a little bit when we compare and contrast to a couple other knives. My first impression of this knife when I held it in my hand was that I loved it instantly, because given that I'm from the Millie Paramilitary 2 Para 3 Club, and we're all about the Spyderco Millies, this knife felt very familiar to me. This really honestly felt very much like a Paramilitary 2. So in terms of hand grip and feel, jimping, placement, and what have you, this knife really felt at home in my hand. I like the carve on the scales, and I like the... I've noticed on several Benchmades lately that they feel like they're going to slide out of my hand on me, and this knife really doesn't at all, with this extra, I don't know what to call it, this extra swell in the scale here. Really gives you a nice purchase when you're holding it. Oh, by the way, sorry to those who hate the word purchase. Don't mean to use a word correctly, but I know some of you don't like that word, so I take it back. My favorite feature of this knife is M4 steel. Now, M4 steel is a phenomenally good tool steel. It's made by Crucible. The reason M4 is so good is that it contains crap loads of tungsten. And this knife steel is very tough. This steel is probably twice as tough as S35VN, which is reported to be a tough steel. So we're talking about very tough. We're also talking about extreme edge retention. This knife has much, much better edge retention than most other steels on the market. So unless you're going super high end, it's difficult to get this much toughness and this much edge retention in the same steel. So it's a fantastic choice for a knife that's going to be a medium to heavy user. If you buy this knife, you're going to find that you don't have to sharpen it often. The tip is excellent. It's got a nice little tip on it, nice and sharp. You know, for me, I want a knife with a good tip on it because I never know when I'm going to need to do some really fine stuff. And splinter pulling is a great example. I just seem to find myself getting a lot of splinters because I do woodworking as a hobby. And this knife is going to be there for you to take care of that. A very popular feature that this has is a sharpening choil. Some people dislike it because they claim it gets caught on things. I suppose it could, right? But I don't know what you're going to be doing back there. On the other side of that coin, this knife is going to be pretty easy to sharpen, which is really a good thing because M4 is not easy to sharpen, and you're going to need all the help you can get. This has a grind to it on the scales reminiscent of the Osborne. So we have a center piece here that's raised, and then we have a kind of a scalloped area here and here that's lower. Giving you sort of a it's not sort of, it is a 3D feel when you hold it. Down the center, you can see that it's actually milled in this direction. So we have lots and lots of grip on this handle. Pretty excellent. Hats off to Benchmade for always giving you a deep carry option without having to go aftermarket, making these knives very user-friendly right out of the box. The axis lock, of course, is excellent. It's a good mechanism. I got no complaints about it other than it's kind of a pain in the butt to take apart, and it has more parts in it that can make the knife a little difficult. You can see my Benchmade flick technique is leaving much to be desired. But guess what? I'm 5 minutes into the video. I ain't starting over. Let's try right-handed. Oh, about the same. So this is my fault. It's not the knife's fault. There we go. If I had spent a little more time practicing on this thing before I decided to do a video, I'd probably be better off. But my friend Jake over at Bearded Gear likes to say holes over studs, and I agree. I do like a hole in a knife more than I like a thumb stud. But that being said, on a Benchmade, it is really no issue. These knives open and close very nicely. And then when I pull back on the axis lock, the blade's pretty much going to fall shut. So let's talk about pros and cons real quick. Pro, everything I've mentioned so far I'm in love with. This is really an excellent knife in terms of the way it's built, the construction methods, and also the materials used on it are quite nice. If I want to talk about cons for a moment, one thing that I do have a complaint about is that, I guess I shouldn't say complaint, this is just an observation. The knife handle itself is rather thick and pretty full. So for somebody with large hands, this is really going to feel very, very comfortable. If you have smaller hands, it's possible that this knife might feel like a bit of a handful. So recently I've done a review of the Spyderco Comparative, which is a phenomenally good knife. However, the handle is rather slim, and in comparison to this knife, this one is going to feel like more of a handful than the Comparative will. But I do like a 3D carved, thicker, fuller handle when I'm holding the knife. It makes for a better grip, and I feel like more of my surface area of my hand is touching the knife when I'm using it. This is the natural position that I want to hold this knife in, which is really great because my thumb's back here where I can get a nice push on the blade, and then my fingers are far from the cutting edge, so I don't need to worry about that. From a sharpening standpoint, again, this knife's going to be rather easy to sharpen because of this nice area here. Excuse me, on the back of the blade, you're going to have a nice area that's going to clamp easily, make the knife easy to sharpen. Really don't have any downside to say to this knife. Let's backtrack to something I mentioned a minute ago about price. So this knife has a retail price of, I believe, $225. Street price is going to be $191 when you go looking for these. So I want to talk for a minute about what you get for your money compared to other items that are on the market. So this is a Spyderco PM2. Probably heard of it, right? Spyderco PM2 is going to be anywhere between $150 to $200, depending on whether it's a production run or a limited edition. This particular PM2 was $159 when it came out, with the addition of a deep carry clip, which is going to put you back about 20 bucks. This knife is going to be $179 street price. For $179, you're going to get 10V steel, which is, I would say, we're going to put it in the same ballpark as 4V, or excuse me, as M4. Both steels are good edge retention steels. They're both very, very tough. So really kind of an apples to apples there. So the extra money on the Benchmade is going to go towards the 3D carving on the scales, which is really nothing, that's nothing to turn your nose up at. It really enhances the grip on that knife. Now that's not to say that the Paramilitary 2 has a grip problem, but I could understand why somebody would prefer the 3D grip on that to the more slab style that you're going to find on the Paramilitary. One advantage I find in the PM2 is I really have multiple grip options. I can hold the knife back here, or I can choke up on the blade. So I have a 5-year-old daughter who eats strawberries almost daily, and when I'm making her strawberries for her, anybody knows this, you got to get rid of the end of the strawberry. So the wrong way to do it would be to chop off the top of the strawberry and lose 40% of it. The right way to do it is to take your knife and put it down into the top of the strawberry and remove the stem portion of the strawberry. So when I think about doing that every day with my daughter, gripping up close to the tip of the knife is the best way to do that. So I have many occasions used my paramilitary to prepare my daughter's strawberries, and this is the grip that makes that routine very, very easy to do. On the Benchmade, we don't have that option. You really can only hold it back here. If you get up on the front here, you're probably going to cut your finger on the back of the blade. So that's nothing to sneeze at. You have something on the paramilitary 2 here that I feel is pretty significant. However, we're really not dealing with apples to apples in terms of the handle of the knife. So if I compare the Benchmade to this knife, we're getting a little closer. This knife is a paramilitary 2 with aftermarket scales coming from Aramis Akhmedov from Russia. And his scales feature a 3D carve on them, giving you a similar grip to the Super Freek. So with the Rick James here, you've got that 3D feel. You've got a nice full handful when you're holding the knife. On the Aramis scaled knife, it's going to be a similar experience. You're going to have that fuller hand feel. You do get the double grip, right? But unfortunately, these scales are about $125. So we take $125 and we add it to the knife. This particular one is the limited edition 20CV, which I believe sold at about $150. So if I add all that up, this knife is quite a bit more money than the Benchmade. So the reason I bring all this up is that if on first blush you might assume that the Benchmade is more money and it's too much money perhaps, and I know many people in my community at the Knife Club would say that the Benchmade is overpriced. But when I really think about an apples to apples comparison, when I really try to get apples to apples, this Benchmade becomes a really good value. It really does. And then what it's going to come down to is, do you like a compression lock or do you like an axis lock? And if you like an axis lock, man, this thing is just like falling off a log. This is a no-brainer. I really, really think this is an excellent knife. It feels like a hard use knife. It is made out of a steel that can certainly handle a hard use request. The axis lock is well known to be durable and reliable. Benchmade is a company that really helps out its users with an excellent warranty service program to take care of you if something goes wrong with the knife. So all around, this is a really formidable knife. And if you're considering a 3.5-inch folder and you want something that's going to be rugged and really a pleasure to hold, I'd encourage you to look at this. So again, this is the Benchmade Super Freek model 560-1 and 560BK-1. That's what this one is. It's also available partially serrated, which is a nice choice if you're going to be doing rope work. If you really want to have a multi-dimensional knife, getting the partial serration is going to get you a whole different cutting experience on the same tool without having to carry multiple knives. So really a great option. So this is really an excellent knife. I'm kind of jealous that I have of Jake for having it, and it's making me wish that I had one myself. So I can see myself getting one of these in the near future and adding it to my collection. So if you liked what you saw and you wanted to learn more about knives, we'd encourage you to join us at the Millie Paramilitary 2 Para 3 Club. You're going to find us on Facebook. You'll find us on Instagram. If you like pretty pictures, the Instagram account's the place to go. If you want to have nice in-depth discussions from knife experts all over the world, the Facebook group is a wonderful place to do that. So I hope you join. I hope you catch up with us and say hi. So thanks for watching. Have a good night.